Hi everyone and welcome to another review. Today we're looking at Universal Monsters, the official colouring book by Alan Robert. This is going to be released in July and the pre-order link will be in the description below. So we all know Alan Robert for his Beauty of Horror series and for being, in my opinion, the best horror illustrator that we have in the colouring world, by far I think. And this is his book of the original monsters, the OG guys from the 1930s and 20s and 40s and around that kind of black and white era. So we've got Dracula, Invisible Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon, The Mummy, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Phantom of the Opera, and Frankenstein's Bride as well. And you can see the front cover has red foiling, just like his Beauty of Horror books. And on the back there are a few thumbnails of some of the pages depicted inside. So it's got a card cover, and on the inside of the cover you can see there are some portraits of the monsters in kind of greyed out ink, so you can decide to colour this if you want to, or you can leave it, but it is a smooth cover, so you might need to use markers rather than pencils. Then we have the title page with the Wolfman just ripping a chunk out of the page there. And onto the first proper illustration. So it is Dracula's castle, the castle on the hill with the thunder and lightning and the rain pouring down. I can't wait to see how this gets coloured, especially with the light sources from the lightning, you know, lighting up the sky and the sides of the castle and things. I'm really excited to see how people tackle that. Now, the spine is a little bit tight when you first get the book, but you can manipulate it so that it will open up and you'll be able to get right into the center of the spine. So like I say, a bit tight, but you can mess around with it until it becomes flatter. So here's Dracula with his latest victim. And then we have Frankenstein with the little flower and the little girl. Lots of scope here to do whatever you want in the background. Maybe you want to use some mixed media or pastels, something like that to fill up the background, or you can draw something. But there is an awful lot of detail around the edges of the picture so that you can get your coloured pencils in there, and it's a nice balance of having lots of detail and then some areas to figure out what you want to do yourself. Then we have the Creature from the Black Lagoon, a double page spread again, and so you can see that I'm pulling this spine apart and you really can get right into the centre. So Creature from the Black Lagoon, this would be, I can just imagine this coloured. It would be so exotic, the colours so vibrant and just really bold and in your face. You know, the greens of the skin and, you know, reds and, oh yeah, love it. Can't wait to see it coloured. And then we get on to the Mummy. So I haven't seen the original Mummy, so I'm not really sure where these images, you know, come into the story. But if you have seen it, of course, you will recognise them, because they are images for the most part from stills from the movie. So here he is in the sarcophagus. Then we have Frankenstein's Bride, and here she is. She's got these really long kind of glove things on. Unless, is this her skin? Like, I don't know what's going on here. It's another film that I haven't seen. I haven't seen an awful lot of the classics. I've seen the original Dracula, but not a lot of the others that are depicted in this book. But I tell you what I could do is to try and find some stills of these movies and put them up in the corner of this video so that you can kind of have a comparison. If I can find them, I'll do that. Then we have the Wolfman in the graveyard, so lots of opportunity for colouring stone, you know, really old, maybe mossy, very weathered stone. A moon in the background, and a night sky, hopefully with some moon illumination on the trees. That would look really, really nice. Then we've got the Phantom of the Opera's double spread. So you can see we've got his mask and the violin here with the burning candle. And here he is. Again, it's not one that I've seen. I feel like a really bad horror fan right now. But I'm sure that you'll recognise the imagery here if you've seen it. Then we have the Invisible Man. So here he is with his potions and concoctions. And this looks like a policeman. Again, I've not seen it. I feel I should be able to give you more info. I am very conscious of the fact that I can't really give too much of my own opinion on the film, having not seen them. So, I'm guessing this is Frankenstein because of the whole laboratory setup. It's got to be, right? Wrapped in bandages, though. Again, I don't know. Then we have Creature from the Black Lagoon again, just making his way through the seabed, the lagoon seaweed. And you can see that he's actually chasing after a lady here. Could be a guy. I think it's a lady. Anyway, I digress. So he's chasing the lady in the lake. And then we've got Dracula again. So here is one of Dracula's, I guess, victims. She seems to have the teeth herself, so I suppose she's been turned into a vampire as well. You've got bats, again, lots of stone, fabric that you can colour, the inner lining of the coffin, lots of different colouring to be done on those pages. Now then, I think this must be another Phantom of the Opera, right? This kind of strange skull face. It's really creepy. I'm going to have to give these a watch because they look like I'd enjoy them. Do you know what I mean? The creep factor. We've got this huge, very ornate and elaborate chandelier. And here's another one with Frankenstein. So the guys with the torches and the pitchforks, they lead him up to the castle or wherever it is, right? And then they burn it, I think. Oh, awful. Give me, 70s, 80s, 2000s particularly horror, and I'm all over it, but the older stuff, no. So here is the Invisible Man again. I really like this one because you can see he's unwinding his bandages and there is nothing underneath. I wonder if that was what it was, the Invisible Man with the bandages earlier on, maybe. And here he is on the stairs. Now here is a really, really cool picture. It's the Wolfman and that progression of his change into the wolf. It's really cool, starts off, he's feeling a bit peaky and then starts to, go through that cycle of changing into the Wolfman. It's a really cool double page. And here's the one that I've coloured. I'm going to tilt it for you because I know my light often shines over the top and creates glare. So this has got every single character in the book. We've got the Mummy, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Invisible Man, Phantom of the Opera, Frankenstein's Bride, Dracula and the Creature. And I was really, really adamant that I wanted to make these as true to life as possible or as true to the movie. So I took a lot of time looking up, reference images and things. So with the Mummy, obviously all of these were black and white when they first came out, so I've added the colour. They're not original in that way. But with the Mummy, I used lots of French grey on the skin to make it look almost papery. You can imagine an old mummified body being very delicate, very papery. And that's what I wanted to create, but with the eyes that were almost glowing, And then we've got Frankenstein. The greens that I chose for this were, again, very purposeful. What's the word that I'm looking for? Very intentional. There we go. This is how I imagined his kind of sallow green skin would look. Now the Wolfman I am really, really proud of because I've always been someone who does not know how to do fur. My fur turns out kind of crap. It just looks like lines all over the place. But with this one, I kind of really took my time and used Alan's line work to plot where I was going to put the darker hairs and the lighter hairs. And it's turned out really, really well. I used Derwent Chromaflow pencils for this because they're a little bit harder than Prismacolor. And I'm just so impressed with my own work, which is very, very rare. I can assure you I'm normally the most critical of my own work, but I'm really impressed with how the fur turned out on the Wolfman. I also like how I've managed to make the eyes look slightly yellowed and bloodshot. So yeah, I think this is probably my favourite off of the whole page. Then we've got, of course, the Invisible Man. Now, if you look at the colorized versions of this movie, you will see that he has, it's like a burgundy kind of dress coat with this sort of pattern and colour on his necktie. So that's why I included this. I coloured the background yellow and then drew in this very rough pattern, just to tie it into what I saw when I was looking at colorized images. Then we've got Phantom of the Opera. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. It's okay. It's not my favorite. Then we've got the Frankenstein's Bride. Now, I did want to do one of them all in black and white, and I chose her. But then I looked at the colorized version, and I was like, you know what? I want to add a little bit of that influence in there too. So she does have some blush on the cheeks, you know, the red lips, and also some tones of orange in the hair, because in the colorized version, she had quite ginger hair. So I've sort of done a half and half. It's like black and white, but with some colour. And then Dracula turned out really well. And the creature, of course, I wanted to have these in sort of contrast to Frankenstein. I wanted him to have these really bright, wet looking greens, if that makes sense. So I really, really enjoyed doing this page. And then the final thing that I did was try and create some depth to these strips. It looks like strips that have been ripped out of a page, right? So I wanted to create a bit of depth, a bit of dimension. So I went against all of this right hand side with a very dark grey pencil on each one. And then I kind of blended outward with lighter greys. So maybe I started off with a 90% warm grey, came out with, you know, the 10% warm grey, just gradiated it a little bit to try and create this lift. And also I went over the left edges with a white pen, so that would kind of get rid of the black lines on the left, enhance the black line on the right, and that creates this kind of lifted look. It's better on some than others. This is a good example. This is kind of quite poor, but you know me, when I get to the end of a project, I tend to rush because I want to be finished. So yeah, had a lot of fun doing it, a lot of fun. So we've got Dracula again, and you can see here's the bloody stake. So maybe this is Van Helsing. I don't know if he was in the original film. I can't remember. We have another of Frankenstein. Again, lots of different things you could do on the background here. Maybe this is meant to be plumes of smoke. I don't know, but you could do anything with it, couldn't you? Here we are under the water again in the lagoon. So on this side, you've got his fishy hand reaching up to grab the ankles. And on this side, you can see it looks kind of, I don't know. I was going to say it looks like he's on shore for a second, but then it could be that he's at the bottom of the lagoon. Not entirely sure. Then we have the Mummy. This is a great double page spread, so you're really getting a lot of the character to colour. And then the hieroglyphs in the background on the scroll. Here we are again, Frankenstein with the windmill. I love the kind of comic book lines that are on this as well. It's a great style from Alan. Gives it that retro vibe. So here's the Wolfman, and then what looks like a cane. Again, I haven't seen the film, but surely it must be a reference. And I just love how the wolf is built in to the cane detail. Great opportunity for you to colour a moon as well. Then we have the Phantom of the Opera. This must be when he is unmasked. You can see his disfigurement here. Lots of stonework to colour. Look at her. She's she's not really impressed. Bride of Frankenstein. This is one that I was thinking of doing for the review, but didn't. Did the other one instead. I love the whole electrical aspect of this. You can imagine, you know, glowing neons for the electrical sparks and things that are going on. Here's Frankenstein being tied to the post. People with pitchforks again and the flaming torches. He looks kind of strange. Maybe that's just Boris Karloff's expression. I don't know. This is kind of funky. It's almost like they're dancing and you've got a still of their music video, you know. It's really cool. I love the framing. It's very detailed. It looks very ornate. There should be lots of gold on this, you know, maybe beautiful royal purple metallic paint or something, you know. So here is the creature again from the Black Lagoon. Now let me see. This one's just takes a little bit of figuring out. Oh, the car has been flipped. So it's almost upside down. It's kind of on its side. and I guess that was his work. um, it's so interesting, like that how people will colour the skin on this, because it's almost like it's like flaps of skin that overlap each other. How did I colour it on mine? Let me have a look. Forgotten already. Oh, there wasn't really much of that because I only did the face, but I want to see how people colour this, and I don't want to see just green either. I'd love to see purple creatures from the Black Lagoon or orange creatures. You know, let's change it up and see what we can create. So here's a Dracula one. He's hiding behind a wall here and looks like he's just about to escape from the coffin. Frankenstein and his monster. So here he is doing his experiments. And here's the monster all chained up. Then we have a proper black and white illustration of the inside cover artwork that we showed you earlier. And we've got all the other characters on this as well. She looked kind of mad. Here's the Wolfman and the lady. I'm guessing this is someone that he's injured or rescued, or I don't know. I should have researched this. And let's see, what is this? This looks like more of a Dracula thing, right? With the bow tie and the claws. I'm just trying to make out all of this jewellery. See if I can find that. And that is the end of the book. So if you are somebody or know somebody that is into these classic vintage sort of retro horror movies, they're going to absolutely love this, because there is, like I said earlier, there is no better horror illustrator in the colouring world than Alan Robert, and to have his imagination incorporated with the classic monsters, it's fantastic. So once again, I'm sorry that I couldn't personally tell you much about the the films depicted in this book like I would in a traditional Beauty of Horror book, but hopefully and the pictures have given you just that little bit more interest into the book and an insight into what they were meant to look like. So again, pre-order links will be in the description, and I'd love to know what you think of this book. It's a step away from Alan's usual Beauty of Horror, so do let me know what you think, and I will speak to you soon on Colour with Claire.